This is the tool. We call it Rise Labs Video Studio. There's the dog skateboarding in Venice, Italy. Replit is a platform that allows you to vibe code web applications. It's still so early for AI video generation. I think like the more realistic things look when you see video, the more surprising and shocking it is.
Built this week, breaking it down. Built this week, we show you how. A fresh idea, a clever tweak. You locked in, you built this week.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of Built This Week. I'm your co-host, Sam Nadler. I'd like to also introduce my co-host and business partner, Jordan Metzner. How you doing today for our inaugural episode, Jordan?
Hey, Sam. Welcome to Built This Week. Super excited to kick this thing off. Let's get started.
Let's do it. Before we get into our docket, what is Built This Week?
Built This Week is a demonstration of some of the applications that we've built here internally at Rise Labs and around for some of our other companies leveraging AI, and also some cool new AI tools in the market, as well as AI news and other cool things that are happening. You know, every day we're building new products. The market's changing quickly. There's new models. There's lots going on, and we're just super excited about that. And, wanted to share some of those tools and features with the rest of the world.
Exciting. So just for context, these are tools we, for the most part, have either built within the span of a week or even less. They can be tools internal tools that we built for our team. They could be tools that we're using to grow our businesses, but primarily built using, a portfolio of different AI tools on the market. I would say that there are tools that, aren't just 1 to 2 hours of vibe coding, but require a little bit more work, a couple days, and a little bit higher level than some of those videos you may see on TikTok or other social media platforms. But they theoretically should be things non-technical people could be able to do, correct?
I think there's probably some level of technicality needed, but there's just so many new cool AI features and tools and APIs and models that, depending on your business and what your needs are, that, really quickly you can leverage them to automate things in your business as well as scale them up, and generate new content. And, in our case today, we're going to talk about, video generation and image generation, but, for our businesses, we generate a lot of content for social, and it's critical to try to get as much content out there as possible. And that's usually the biggest time suck is just generating content itself. And before AI, we had to generate that all manually or use stock photography or stock video, which, just doesn't look that good. So, luckily with AI, we can be really creative. And while it's not perfect yet and photorealistic, you can play off of that to, try to be funny and creative and make new kinds of content. And in the case of the product we built today, it's been, a huge impact on our social teams.
Perfect. So perfect segue. We're going to jump into the tool for the week. And this is a tool we built internally. Just before we even get into what the tool is, number one is how long roughly did it take us to get this V1 out? And then what was, generally speaking, the purpose? What was the problem we were trying to solve? And then we'll get into the tool itself.
Yeah, good question. So, there's been a lot of marketing and promotion around new video generation and image generation tools. And, we currently offer a lot of different AI tools available to the people that work at Rise Labs. We have what we call like AI Rise Chat, where we've built our own kind of like a chat GPT model where users can pick from all different types of models, from Anthropic to a chat GPT to Claude to DeepSeek, and then just, chat with any model they want. And what that allows us to do is avoid like high subscription fees over a large population of people, and instead leverage like API keys as a consumption layer. So that just drives down the cost of the use case, and you just kind of pay for what you use. And it opens up like kind of the amount of models and tools that folks are available to use. So instead of saying like, okay, I'm going to choose like a subscription to Anthropic or a subscription to ChatGPT for my folks, instead we're building a tool that lets them have, access to all those models simultaneously while not even paying any subscription fees. So kind of, you get the best of both worlds. And I think like probably the launch of VO3, the newest Google model, that was probably like the biggest pivot. Like Sora from OpenAI, their video model was like made some big rumblings, but the quality of it has not been that great. And then when Google dropped VO3, it seemed like kind of we had a step function improvement. And then right when that dropped, we've seen a bunch of new models from there. And at Rise Labs, we do a lot of social media content. We have a lot of brands. We have a lot of different businesses. We're producing for all different types, for our own businesses, for clients, kind of all different types of video content. And usually that's the biggest bottleneck is just like the time it takes to produce videos, not just to the editing of them, but just like creating them and filming them. And, we'd have to do photo shoots and video shoots and all that. So, with the advent of these models, our goal is to be able to produce more content faster and better. And, so, there was just a lot of demand from the social team of like, how can we get access to VO3? And, we wanted to kind of do something pretty similar to what we did with the, chat, by giving access to not just VO3, but as many models as possible, or like top tier models as possible, so they can generate their own content. So, we built our own like video generation tool. I recently just added image generation. It leverages a bunch of different models. So, it allows our team to create their own content pretty rapidly. And I'll show you a little bit of like how the tool works and, as well as how I built it.
Perfect. Before we get into the tool, how it works, I think you explained why it's important to provide like this portfolio of different tools for our team to use and not have to pay subscription and kind of in one central place. But I think we all recognize, at least right now, VO3 is kind of the best tool out there. So why wouldn't we just give access to VO3?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, price and consumption are important as well. So, VO3 right now is, I would say, like pretty expensive. It's about $6 per 8-second generation. And the generations are not perfect. So if you want to make a 30-second commercial, you're going to generate at least 4 videos, presuming that each output is perfect exactly as you need. If some of them you have to regenerate, or you want to have more than 4 scenes in that 30-second commercial, you could be generating 10 clips and spending, $60, $80, $100 in just a matter of a few minutes. So it definitely gets expensive quickly, depending on what you're doing. And it's expensive is relative. I mean, the quality of the video coming out of VO3 is so good that if you compare that to what it would cost to set up a full day of shooting, of course, VO3 is much cheaper. But from like a startup perspective, pretty easily you can spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if you don't pay attention. So I think it's all relative. I would say like if you were like a marketing agency and you're doing, filming expensive commercials for big brands, then yeah, spending probably a few $100 or $1,000 on generations of concepts is probably pretty cheap.
Okay, cool. I do want to transition to the tool itself. But what I would love is kind of an overview of the tool, and then B, like, how was it actually built? What were the different pieces you pulled together to make, the beta alpha version work? What were some of the very early quick iteration features that we iterated upon to get it out to our team? And then once the team's been using it basically for the past week, what were some of the additional features we've laid on recently? And then lastly, how have they used it in the past few days?
Okay, now let me see if I can share my screen. All right, so you can see the blog. You can see the website, right? Okay, cool. All right, let's jump into the tool. Okay, cool. So, this is the tool. We call it Rise Labs Video Studio. We just added images, so maybe now we need a new name for it. What I've done is I've gone and find kind of the top best video generation models on the market today. In the case, that's these 6 right here. They're all a little bit different. They're all specialized in kind of different output qualities, and kind of the only way to really know which one's the best for your use case is to just generate a bunch of samples and see which one works the best. Some of the pricing I've included here as well. So they're all over the place. This is, 30 cents per second. We know this VO3 is $6 per 8 seconds. This one has a token quantization pricing. So they're all a little bit different, but essentially, the way the tool works is you pick a model. In this case, we can pick something like Seed Dance. We have all the configurations here. So you can start with a reference image. You can change your frame rate. For now, let's just leave kind of all of this just as it is. And you can start with like a simple prompt. So maybe we can do like a dog skateboarding in
Venice Beach.
Oh, cool. Well, why don't we go to Venice, Italy?
Oh, nice.
Okay, cool. So, dog skateboarding in Venice, Italy, and then I built this like enhance with AI, which basically, I highly recommend using something like a ChatGPT to enhance your prompts. Inside the tool, I just built that, but basically, what you do is you take this and you kind of enhance it with ChatGPT by telling the model that you're working with. You tell ChatGPT the model that you're working with, and you can get kind of a more enhanced prompt. And, here it is capture the dog's joyful presentation, as he's on the iconic Venetian architecture and gondolas. So anyway, it wrote a really nice prompt here.
But wait, really quick, the enhance with AI was one of those kind of second features we built after initially using the tool and seeing kind of the video quality. And then, understanding that obviously the prompt is so important in creating the types of videos you want. So that was, I believe, one of our first features that we built, right as soon as we launched the initial product.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote like have a dog skateboarding in Venice, Italy. And, here it says a golden retriever skillfully skateboarding through the vibrant streets of Venice, Italy, capture the dog's joyful expression under the warm afternoon sunlight. So it's just so much more robust in helping the model generate a high quality output versus something as simple as the initial prompt. Both will work, but quality of output will definitely have an impact. Another thing to note is all these models kind of have different times to generate. So the price for the most part is really relative to how long it takes to actually make the video. In the case of something like Veo 3, sometimes takes up to 10 minutes to generate like an 8-second video, and hence, why the price is so expensive. In the case of Seed Dance, which is, ByteDance, their newest model, might maybe take just a few moments to make it. So what I do here is after I generate it, it'll say it's in progress. And then we built a small video history page here, and here you can see the video is being generating. So I can just keep hitting refresh. It's processing, and hopefully here we go. Awesome. Okay, cool. So if you see here, there's the dog skateboarding in Venice, Italy. Cool. And I can make this maybe bigger. I don't know if you guys can see it bigger.
Yep.
Oop. All right. I mean, pretty good. So, what else can I do with that? So obviously, like I can download that. I have a copy button here in case I want to use that prompt again. And then I also have like a share link as well. So if I want to share that with someone, or I can throw it in the trash. So, if we just use this as an example here, I'll just take this same prompt. I can go back to my model. I'll pick something here like Veo 2, which is, Google's other model, the previous model to Veo 3. I'll paste the same prompt in, and we can generate a video. And yeah, it'll take a few moments, but we'll see the quality of the Veo 2 video versus the Veo 3 video. And there you can kind of compare and say, like, is it worth it? I would do a Veo 3, but it's going to take like 10 minutes right now. So it's probably just not best to do it, while we're doing it here.
And that copy prompt feature is also one of those like quick iterations we made after we started using the product. And we wanted to, test the prompts on different platforms to see which one worked best, or we wanted to make a small tweak because it didn't generate exactly what we want. And instead of trying to like recreate the prompt or, save it somewhere else, we created this copy prompt feature, which has been really, really useful.
Yeah, it's easy to see where our roadmap is going, where, you write one prompt and then we can generate multiple videos across multiple models. So we can go horizontally. So, produce the same video across all different models at the same time, as well as go vertically across each model. So make multiple generations using the same model with the same prompt just to get different outputs, as the model will not always produce the same output with the same prompt. And so you can get to a point where, with one single prompt, we'll generate maybe 25 videos or something like that. And so your ability to bring all these assets together, is super feasible. And again, it's just simply a limitation of cost. So here's using Google Veo 2. Here's the dog skateboarding in Venice. This one looks, in some cases a little bit more realistic in the sense that it looks a little bit more like Venice. Golden Retriever. But you can see the video quality a little low on the, on the pixels, etc.
Cool.
So that's how it works.
What a great tool. And I want to get into like how our team has specifically used this tool in the past few days. I mean, we've quickly made two social campaigns and TV campaigns that I think are worth talking about. But before we do that, I want you to walk me through kind of the major building blocks of getting this out the door in just a few days. What tools did you use? What were some of the roadblocks you encountered? And yeah.
Okay, yeah, happy to do that. I think one thing I should show you before we do that, and right now would be a great time to show kind of the capybara commercial.
Capybaras are the most unique and relaxed creatures in the animal kingdom. Yet the trials of modern life sometimes push their limits. But nature, in its infinite wisdom, understands that even capybaras require a chance to get off-site and restore their tranquil harmony. Off-site.io handles the stress of planning great company retreats, saving teams money. We handle the details, you just chill. Off-site.io, your off-site event planner.
I think that's pretty funny. We also have, obviously, the Wes Anderson one we did for Rise Labs.
This is Kyle, our DevOps guy.
He lives in a tree now. Something about latency and forest spirits.
This is Jess, our designer. She's never used Figma, but she does love clip art.
My CTO? That's Travis. We met at Burning Man. He doesn't believe in computers.
Anyway, I found Rise Labs. They just show up and stuff gets built.
So, we have all these good commercials, and I think it's only going to get better. One is, we get better at generating better content. Our team gets more creative, and the models continue to get better. But just before I show you kind of how I built it, Sam, let me show you this new feature that I don't even think you've seen yet. So, I recently just added a generate images page. I've taken, these are the top 4 image generation models. Obviously, ChatGPT has a model. I haven't integrated it yet, but probably will soon. But here you can see these models. Image generation is obviously significantly faster than video. Obviously, it's just one frame. But we can pick something like Flux Pro. And I think we had a dog skateboarding in Venice, Italy. I also have an enhance with AI here, so hopefully that'll improve. There we go. It also picked a golden retriever. I guess those are the most popular skateboarding dogs. And here you can see that it'll generate this image. And like I said, this one's a lot faster. And then, we have an image history page, and just like that, there's our dog skateboarding.
Beautiful.
Through the streets of Venice, and so you can download that. So yeah, still some bugs and some, little things here and there, but for the most part, and if I was just to like copy this prompt and, we can try it in something like Google's, we can see like what that result is.
And this is great because we have, our entire team now has access to all these different tools on a pay per use basis instead of, providing subscriptions to 8 different tools to, a bunch of different people. It's way more affordable, and like you can see what everyone else is creating, and use that to inspire you, build different ideas, tweak it, etc.
Yeah, I purposely built it in like a collaborative way where everyone's kind of sharing one major account. That way you can kind of see the history of other people inside the company who've generated content. But, alternatively, if we gave everybody accounts, okay, so this is the Minimax image 01. That's a pretty good image of a dog. I mean, it looks pretty photorealistic to me.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, if we had to go give everybody accounts, at, Runway ML and Kling and all these places, times how many people use the tool, then we'd be spending hundreds of dollars and maybe not even getting a lot of generation out of it. So, yeah, that's a little bit about how the Rise Labs audio, video, image studio works.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, take me quickly through kind of how you built it. And then number 2, I want the kind of final polished version of, it's cute making dogs skateboarding in Venice or, cows jumping over the moon. But how do we actually use this for business purposes?
So I like to use a lot of different Gen AI vibe coding tools. I have accounts at almost all of the different major service providers and different tools. But in the case of this specific tool, I used Replit. So let me just tell you a little bit about Replit. Replit is a platform that allows you to kind of vibe code, text to chat code, web applications. What's cool about Replit is they have a lot of built-in services into their platform. So they have things like WebSockets and database and storage of environment keys and things like that. And so when I'm building small tools that are not front end only, that need a little bit of a database, that need a back end, that maybe need a little bit of authorization, but maybe it's not going to scale to like a huge organization. I usually come to Replit to build it. When I'm building things where I want to build like a product demo or just a front end for like my product teams, I'll probably use something like Bolt or Lovable or some other tool, or even Cursor. But when I want to build something that I need like an API and I need to make some functional calls, I'll go to Replit. And the cool thing about Replit is like you can kind of chat here with your agent. Here's like a preview of your web application. Here you can see like my server is running. And if we make any changes or add any new features, I can just hit redeploy up here, redeploy to the server. And here you can see, if I go to my deployments, you can see my last deployment. And then here's a link to the app, which will bring me like right into here. So if I want to add a new feature, function, model, I can walk you through that now. I can show you how I do that. I think that might bring me into like what Replicate is and how I use that in this case to help me build this. But any questions here before I jump into that?
Yeah, on your initial prompt to get this started, how thoughtful are you? Are you like kind of drafting a full series of prompts using ChatGPT or Claude before taking that over? Or are you just kind of vibing straight into it?
Sometimes I write like a really nice prompt in ChatGPT. Sometimes I'll just start with like I'm making an admin panel and just get the like framework of the web app like built. I tried to see here if I can, find my first prompt, but I don't know if I'll find it. It's probably buried back here somewhere.
No worries.
Who knows? But yeah, I probably just said something like build me a web app.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say like build a web app with a left-hand sidebar just to get it framework going. And then I'll say like, okay, we're going to do this. Sometimes I'll say like, what I'm going to do is this, and I'm going to have it do this. So I think in this case, I probably said like, we're going to build a web admin panel, left-hand sidebar, and use different models to generate video, something like that. Most likely, probably with this one, just to recall myself, like most likely went to ChatGPT, probably something just like 4.0, pretty simple, and just like gave it the idea of what I want and said like, I'm making a new app in Replit, like please help me like improve this first prompt.
Okay, so this was your primary tool. What other tools did you use to tie this together?
So in the case of this specific application, I used a web tool called Replicate, and Replicate's a very, very interesting tool. Let me see if I can show you kind of a little bit more of how it works. So Replicate, and there's a few other like alternatives to Replicate. I think another one is Fall. And you could also use something like AWS Bedrock, and there's a few other like, companies kind of trying to provide these types of services. But what they are is websites like API as a service, and they're constantly adding new models. And so what you can do is first see like, look, they've got tons of different models under all different types of things. So, I want to generate images, videos. I want to edit images. I want to transcribe speech. I want to make 3D stuff. I want to make music. There's just so many different types of things. I want to sing with voices. I want to do voice cloning. And these are all different models that are hosted through Replicate, and allow you to have API access in just a few moments. And, maybe if we have enough time, I can maybe like add a new feature into our video generation tool showing you with one of these APIs. But, if you pick any of these models to use, in the case of Seed Dance, what we used earlier, you're going to get an interface, something like this with a playground. And in that playground, what you can do here is, type in some prompts and press play and run, and you'll get your sample video. But where it gets like very powerful is you can go over here to the API page, and, here I'm not going to expose my token, but, you get your API token here, you get a sample of the call, API call, and then you also have the schema both in like a table and a JSON. And so as simple as just literally like kind of copying like all of this, and then as well as copying the schema, and then just going into Replit and saying like, hey, please add this model here. It would simply add this model right into my app, and then pretty much work right out of the box. Sometimes I have to go back and forth, make some testing, as you guys saw, maybe earlier with the gen images. Looks like, some of these models failed. So I'm going to have to go back and, kind of understand why they failed. Here you can see images disappeared. So, they're maybe not storing on the server properly, but, I'll keep working on those features and get it better and better. But happy to walk through like adding another model if that wasn't clear.
No, I think it's clear. But so every time we generate a video, we're paying Replicate.
Yeah, Replicate. We're running Replicate services. So I'll try to see if I can, show that, or I think it's on my dashboard. Maybe, let's see. So here you can see kind of, every time we run a different model, a few minutes ago, we did this Minimax image model. Let me see if I can show you the cost. Here's the dog in Italy, and here's a link to that, right? Mm-hmm. So here that API call succeeded. I don't know if it has a cost here, but it does somewhere in the app.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
So cool. I think what I want to transition to is like, we've gotten a little bit into why we built this tool. We've gotten a little bit into how we've built this tool. How have we used this tool? I know it's only been like 3 days, 4 days since we've released it to our team. We've iterated, we've created a couple new features. We've got a few more features in the pipeline, but, how have they used it? And what have we done with that in the past 48 hours, let's say?
Well, I think like the first like major hit was I made like a Rise Labs, the kind of Wes Anderson style commercial, and we pushed that out. We put it on socials and got some pretty good reviews. And I think part of it is that it's still so early for AI video generation. I think like the more realistic things look when you see video, the more surprising and shocking it is. Like, this is real or video generated, AI generated. So I think we're still in the early days, and we can still capture some of that magic in the air, I guess. And then just yesterday, one of our video editors made awesome commercial. It was, almost like a National Geographic style commercial about capybaras and how they travel to Barcelona and go on an offsite, leveraging our offsiteo business. And that also has gotten, great responses, mostly because it's funny. It has a voiceover of a sound like Sir David Attenborough. And it's funny. It's a funny, cute video. We can play a clip of it right now. But capybaras are cute and funny. And this is just like day 1, day 2 for us using AI video generation. I think, we produce a lot of videos every month, and I think it's only going to increase the amount of content we're able to build. And the good part is like, we can generate these videos in the background while we're doing other work. So
perfect.
I think it's certainly going to scale.
Yeah. Just to like walk through that. And then I do want to move on to the tool of the week. But, our video editor, once given access to this tool, generated probably 20 to 30 clips, aligned with this concept, had it done within, an hour, maybe. Stitched them together, layered on the voiceover, presented it to us, few small edits, and within a day we had a commercial that previously would have cost, thousands of dollars or just been too time consuming or costly for us to even pursue.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have capybaras doing something, you got to use CGI, which means you got to like render them in 3D, and you got to put them in these environments, and it just takes a lot of time. Plus, the rendering time of just like anything you do in CGI just takes time to render and render farms, and I mean, this is all done in a matter of like pretty much like a few hours.
Great. Let's transition to, and this is somewhat unrelated, but I guess in some use cases could be related. What is just one of your favorite AI tools? I know it's probably, a tool that's been out there for a while. People may have heard of it, but maybe they haven't. I encounter a lot of people who haven't heard of this tool and absolutely love it immediately. Tell me about one of this favorite tool that we use quite frequently.
Okay, so are we jumping into tool of the week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me just open, something like a new doc, just so I have kind of an empty space to type and write, and I'll just make it a little bit bigger. But I type like pretty fast. I've done some typing tests. I do about like 60 words a minute, which I think is pretty good. I'm definitely not in like the 80 or 90 words a minute, which is really hard. But I definitely have seen a lot of developers or even non-developers like be able to type that fast. But I can certainly talk fast. And so, dictation on the Mac has been around for pretty much for a really long time. Like, Nuance and Dragon, there's been a ton of applications around that. I think Apple bought that company a long time ago. And so when I first tried to like add dictation into my Mac, I turned on like the Apple dictation under like accessibility. And it's really clunky. It like misses words. It's kind of like on my iPhone. I kind of have the same type of problems. Like it's a little clunky and like miss words and things like that. And then, I was reading on Twitter, about like a vibe coder who uses this tool to like help him vibe code. And basically what it allows you to do is, simply like talk to your computer and it types. I'm going to show you the website real quick. It's called Whisper Flow. Announced yesterday, they just raised a bunch of money. So, maybe this is like perfect timing. See here, they raised like 30 million. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $10 a month a user, something like that. Maybe they changed their pricing a little, $12. Yeah. So, not too bad. And let me just show you how it works. So what you do is you like assign a key on your keyboard, and I'll show you an example. But once you hit that key, you'll get a little hot button down here that'll talk. And this is just a quick example of how using WhisperFlow will allow you to type and put text on the screen faster than typing it. And so all I did was just talk that out, and I was able to get a perfect sentence without having any errors. And what's really cool for me is I'm bilingual. I speak a lot of Spanish as well. So with WhisperFlow, you can put on multiple languages. So you can say like, "Hola Sam, esto es una prueba de WhisperFlow utilizando español." And so I can just do something like that, and it'll basically do it really quickly, and it's certainly much faster than I type. And I think according to the WhisperFlow app, I'm about like 160 words a minute. So, 3 to 4 times faster than if I was typing, and, still probably 2 times faster than the fastest people who are typing. I found it works really great for me for writing emails. Sometimes I don't want to write emails because I just kind of like don't want to type that much out. So it's really helpful for that. Also, it's helpful where if I'm writing an email, I might talk it out and then use ChatGPT to help me like improve the email before I send it. It's obviously great for vibe coding, whether you're using Cursor or Bolt or Lovable or some of these other tools, but simply just talk right back to your application. And I think it kind of all brings back to kind of what I showed you earlier using Replit, which is, I use this just all the time, inside the agent tool, just trying to find improvements and things like that. I'll just talk to it. So, I found it super helpful. Sometimes I'll not click in the right box and I'll miss talk. But they recently added some features where you can kind of like copy and paste your previous talk out loud. So I found it to be a great tool. It's really helped me move along faster. I don't know. What do you think, Sam? Has it helped you?
You introduced Whisper, I don't know how long ago, probably 4 months ago, and it's a tool I now use daily. What I love about it is when you have to chat with ChatGPT or Claude and you have to provide a lot of context to your prompt, in like really any use case, like the more context and guidance and structure you give the prompt, usually a better outcome. And typing that out can just require minutes and minutes of effort. Whereas if I'm just speaking it out, I can kind of get my thoughts all out. Maybe I just ship as is or just go in and tweak and edit a little bit. The other really cool feature that I love about it is I don't remember the exact terminology. I think it's called dictionary. It begins to learn specific terms that you use. Specifically for us, we have business names that may or may not make sense. But, once it learns that that's your business name, it captures it quickly and records it quickly. So I find that really helpful. And overall, I think, even in Slack, sometimes I have a somewhat long Slack message I want to write a coworker, and it's just easier to whisper it out quickly. Punctuation's great. So overall, I think it's a great tool to significantly increase productivity and actually get more from AI.
Do you think this is something Apple could Sherlock, Apple could improve their voice to, text to speech or voice to text or whatever this is, I guess, and kind of eliminate the need for whisper flow?
Absolutely. I mean, they're, a company that's fully capable of doing that. But, when are they going to do it? I mean, look at Siri. There's so many improvements that Siri could, now I know totally kind of different solution, but, people are using Whisper. They just raised $30 million, I think, yesterday. I do think Apple could significantly improve their dictation. But when or if it's a priority for them, who knows?
Cool. All
right.
Should we jump in the news?
Let's go into the news. Let's do a couple stories. I mean,
okay, cool.
if I recall correctly, these are random stories you've chosen, which I may or may not have heard yet. Fresh off the press.
Fresh off the press. I mean, some of these are just came in right now. Actually, I mean, this one's probably the most relevant. Kalshi just raised $100 million. I don't know if you knew about that. Kalshi is an online marketplace for betting. And they're actually the ones that first produced a really cool AI commercial that went viral just about a week ago. So, news just came out about that. I don't know if you've used Kalshi or you've made any of those kind of bets, but curious what your thoughts are there.
I haven't. I think I came across a prediction for the New York primary race that just happened. And I do believe their most recent kind of video that got a lot of attention was a little bit of our inspiration to dive deeper into our own video generation tool.
Totally right. So, there's a few other players besides Kalshi in this kind of gambling market of betting on events and activities. I know Robinhood is trying to scale up in that market as well. And there's a few other players. So it'll be super, super interesting. I want to jump into the next kind of top story of the day. I think this, I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's basically the reason why OpenAI had to take down some of the posts about the Johnny Ive acquisition was because of this lawsuit regarding the words IO and IYO and this guy, Jason Ruglo. So just to give a quick background here, but OpenAI recently acquired Johnny Ive's company called IO. And a few days ago, most of the content around the IO acquisition was scrubbed from the website. And now we learned that the reason for that was that they're getting sued by a guy named Jason Ruglo. I hope I said that right. But what yesterday I thought was most interesting, Sam Altman posted a bunch of emails of Jason Ruglo saying like, hey, can I work for you? So I think I just wanted to bring it up as kind of like just showing kind of like, how everything's an attack vector, like they did this big acquisition and like can't even close it without, getting some lawsuits in the way.
Yeah. There's always two sides to every story,
Yeah. Okay, let's just run through just two more quick ones, and then we can move on from there. Also came out this morning is Ring, my old alma mater, just rolled out video descriptions, an AI-powered feature to give users summaries. I'm a Ring customer. I think you're a Ring customer. You're a Ring customer?
Nest. No, Google.
Nest. Okay, cool. So anyway, I'll give you an update next week on kind of how well it works. But in general, the cameras have been pretty behind in developing AI and being effective like that. So hopefully kind of with this new rollout, it'll be a little more interesting.
So would it be if I get a little motion on my doorbell camera, I could say, oh, it was your dog, fetching a ball?
Well, I think it does that now. I think it's more like you're away from your home and, you received 3 packages, a neighbor came by, there were 2 dogs, kind of giving you a more holistic summary. I'm not sure. I didn't work on this product. Obviously, I've been a long time away from Ring and Amazon, but Jamie's been back there. That was in the news a few months ago. So, maybe he's pushing this AI trend. Okay, I just want to talk about one last story. There was a recent lawsuit with Anthropic, and a piece of the lawsuit came out regarding Anthropic scanning books. And I don't have the exact quote in front of me right now, but from a high level, they were buying used books on the internet. They were cutting the books up and they were passing them through scanners. And I just think one, this is incredibly interesting way to get unlock data and make your models smarter by doing essentially do things that don't scale. And it's crazy that, these big LLMs are just pretty much doing almost anything to get access to data that's not readily available on the internet that they haven't already captured. I don't know if you know about the story, but I'm just curious your thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, what immediately resonates is the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made. And I can just picture this warehouse of, I think they spent millions and millions of dollars. And I don't know exactly how many books that would be, hundreds of thousands of books, potentially millions. And, teams of people just ripping the pages out of the seams. I don't know how organized it was or how chaotic it was, but I just, what a race to try and capture this data.
Yeah, that reminds me of early Amazon Bezos days. He always makes that joke of they're boxing up books on the floor and someone says you know what we need? And he says knee pads. And the guy says no, we need tables. So, I mean, I just can't imagine your job is working at Anthropic and, your job is to cut open old books and scan them. But just, it just shows the thirst for data. Unique data sets. Yeah.
Well, Jordan, thank you. That was our inaugural episode. As mentioned, we covered a tool we built in just a few days. We covered a hot tool we love to use, and we covered some latest news. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, this was really fun. Went by real quick. I'm really excited for future episodes. I think we'll be dropping episodes every week. Ideally, kind of maybe every Friday. We'll try to do our best. And thanks for listening. You can find us on all your top podcast networks, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Built this week, breaking it down. Built this week, we show you how. A fresh idea, a clever tweak. You locked in, you built